Good morning, everyone. March 13th, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have the agenda in front of us. Any changes or comments on the agenda before we move forward? All right. The minutes for the February meeting are attached in the packet. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second one.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Is that Ann also?
Ann, is that you on the iPad? Maybe not.
But we have a quorum, so.
Yeah, we have a quorum, yeah. All right, well, the next on the agenda is public comment. Is anyone on the line for public comment? All right, we don't see anyone online for public comment. So we'll move right into the Cox Holiday Report. Amber?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We start off with January. January is 58% through the fiscal year. We have a bank balance of 209,000. We'll lessen that by 3-month expenses of 416 so that we are not in compliance with our reserve amounts by 207,000 currently. All right, in January, revenue was 198,000. Salaries, 100,000. Operating expenses, 38,000 for a surplus of 59,000. Fiscal year to date, we have a revenue of 787,000, 8% below budget. Salaries are at 743,000, which is right on par with budget. And expenses at 228,000, which is 13% above budget. Accounts receivable is at 251,000. 56% of that is the West Virginia Treasury. Questions on January?
I don't have any.
That is Ann on the iPad, but she's just having some technical difficulties.
All right, good morning, Ann. All right, well, let's go ahead and move into the February preliminaries and then we'll call for an order or order. Yeah, to approve January.
Okay. All right. February is 67% through the fiscal year. You have a bank balance of 111,000. Take off 3 months worth of expenses, which is 376,000. And you're out of compliance by 264,000. February saw revenue of 19,000, salaries 101,000, operating expenses just under 9,000 for a deficit of 90,000. Total revenue fiscal year to date, 807,000, which is 16% below budget. Salaries are at 844,000, which is 1% below budget. And operating expenses are at $237,000, which is 7% above budget. Accounts receivable in February, 253,000. 56% of that is still the West Virginia Treasury.
So why such low revenue in February compared to, especially compared to January?
Well, one is a shorter month in general, right?
Okay.
The other being that we just did not have a whole other thing coming in. The unfortunate aspect of it.
Is that also because we weren't able to go out and do the inspections because of the weather and?
Part of that, part of the weather, people not wanting to come in because of the weather. And again, where we're at, it's hard to get to us in general. And then when you add the weather factor in and stuff like that, then I think the whole swaying that.
Right, and I just wanted to say we were able to restart septic
Yes.
inspections in the month of February, so we have been able to resume normal service to our clientele. And we actually boosted our inspection numbers in February. So just wanted to clarify
Okay.
that.
Invoices in February.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big,
Yeah,
198 in January,
Yeah.
19 in February. That's
Yeah.
not a short month.
No.
Is it the
They
grant?
come quarterly after the quarter.
So the 198 is largely the grant that came
grant
in
that come in
January.
as well, yes, absolutely.
Which one was that?
That was our state aid,
The state aid?
yes, which, we also thankfully finally got our threat prep grant in. So I was able to bill for two of them the beginning of this month,
Oh,
so it won't show up until this month.
Okay.
This other stuff. QRT also got their second quarter billed this month. Threat prep will also get their third quarter billed beginning of next month, plus state aid beginning of next month. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So this is largely a timing issue and that March will,
yeah.
what are you said two things were billed
So the 2 quarters of threat prep,
and which will equal how much?
roughly, actually, roughly 53,000. And then, one of the quarters of, QRT, which is 44,000 roughly.
Okay.
Doesn't make up the deficit or by that matter, but just. That was still 50 some odd thousand that we were. Not getting up until this point, right, that we should have been getting anyway. When it comes to, like I said, the revenue stream as far as clientele, patients. We're not getting what we. Probably would have had in a lot of the time because of the weather.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Unfortunate aspect of that.
Okay, can you show me how to,
And
And
Hey, we heard you there. Huh? Oh, she's talking to somebody else. Okay, gotcha. Well, she resolved the technical issues. All right, any other questions or comments on the February?
I'll make a motion to accept the January financials. Second that one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Joy?
And
Oh, and then
back. Awesome.
just raise. All right, unfinished business. We'll move on to the environmental health. Fee.
Yes, did you want to take this one, Alexis, or do you want me to go with it?
If you could, I don't know
know
if I
the-
have it in front of me.
the
Is it in the packet?
Yes, it's in the packet. Unfortunately, also printing off of Excel sometimes is not made for a great time. So there's two different fee changes in this packet. The first one, the top 2 pages, front and back, so the total of 4 pages, is a set amount increase. Going up for certain amounts. If I highlighted it yellow, that was because it was set by the state. We cannot change that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So things like the ABC sales fees, studio permit fee, that sort of deal, those are set by the state. With the first set of fees, you can see a kind of a marked increase in a strictly a financial amount. Not a percentage, nothing. The second set is actually at a 20% rate fee increase. Right, some actually are a little lower than the marketed increase. Some are at the same. And actually, I think some might actually be higher based on that. But giving 2 options there to talk about, to put out there. We have,
Hold on, just want to make sure we're clear.
Yep.
So there's 2 versions
Yes.
provided.
yes, because the last meeting we discussed whether or not we wanted to go with a set amount increase for
Mhm.
everyone, or at a 20% increase or a set percentage increase. I stuck with the 20% since that's what we had originally done in the initial fee increase.
And the second one is 20%
The
across the
second one is
board.
20% across the board are the ones that we can do.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yep. It, in the Excel spreadsheet, it had it broken down like that. Unfortunately, the print off does not break it down very well like that, because it's not two separate sheets. Um, I think regardless of how we go, we also should talk and discuss building in a percentage increase yearly. Nothing crazy, maybe a 5%, and look back at it as a cost of living.
Mhm.
And look back at it at a certain year point.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we're doing this for 27, going to maybe for initial phase, going to out to, our first set, whichever one we pick, then market, adding in a 5 or 10% increase for cost of living, and inflation, so to speak, for 28, 29, and 30, and then looking back from that point on and seeing if we matched with everything. If we can either stay, we can stay, or if we've done the math correctly or not.
I think I follow, kind of like building like a 5-year kind of review
Yes.
of the
Yes.
cadence. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because again, we're not trying to gouge a market here. We're not trying to do anything crazy. But we're trying to make sure that we're
Covering the costs.
covering the
Yeah.
cost of time.
Right. Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about maybe doing kind of like a pro forma on this to
Yes.
see what the revenue implications.
Yes.
That would, imagine that would be like the lift, but did you have any luck with that?
So we had initially tried to do it ourselves. We are going to have to enlist the help of the of Cox Holiday on that one. To do that. That lift was a little over our heads, I feel, Alexis.
I'm just limited in my QuickBooks knowledge.
And there's a lot in the QuickBooks that they can scour through easier than we can, having the accountant side of the house and getting set, permit fees and everything else like that, going back through and seeing what was actually paid. Not necessarily invoiced, but paid actually out, and getting that information, then we're going to have to enlist their help.
Yeah, that's a heavy lift, and we really want to stay on the
Yes.
cadence to get this approved today, so I
Absolutely.
would be able to approve with that
Yeah.
study, but we know that the revenue will increase to better align with the costs.
Right.
Of providing the service. The question was more of the differential of
Correct.
option A versus option B.
Correct.
But I think I just like to throw out that, that variance aside, to me, 20% across the board sounds very heavy.
Yes.
And I'm, just say it's talking for me, that's a hard pill to swallow if I'm a taxpayer or a business owner. I think the per unit increase is a strategic realignment of charges to the cost.
Yeah.
And I think once we do that, and then we establish a global percentage fee increase year over year for
Right.
cost of living, that's an easier pill to swallow, and I think a cleaner messaging out to the community as well. I think both serve the same ends of getting
Absolutely.
charges aligned with cost, but that's just where I go.
Yeah.
Is let's take the year, align everything like we did. So I'm curious everybody else's thoughts, but that's where my mind goes. 20% sounds really heavy. And
However,
yeah,
on the non-20% one, I mean, there's 50% increases and 40% increases. Now, again, but it shows differently because when you're, like the food handler card, $10 to $15 to the average person doesn't sound
Right.
out of whack.
However, that does add up when businesses.
But it
are
does add
paying
up,
for 20
right.
people to
Right.
get their food handlers.
Yeah, or, if you're in the campground one, $70 to $100, that's a 40% increase. Just for the sake of doing business.
Yeah.
And I don't, that doesn't feel right to me
No.
either.
And that was one of those things where, I think it is, there's no good way to ask for more fees.
No, there isn't, but it's
Yeah.
also a fairness
Correct.
issue because like where people are getting like. The biggest things here are businesses,
Absolutely.
and I don't know that that's right. And homeowners, like, well, or it could be commercial, I don't know the sizes, but like $300 to $375, that's a significant.
Yeah,
This is on the geothermal 50-ton system. Well, sorry, that's not subject, it's well, but it's just, I personally think it's easier to just do a flat increase of whatever across the board and then get yourself stabilized. But also when we talk about the year over year numbers, I don't think we can, I don't think we can justify 10% because that isn't cost of living or inflation. That's more like 5%.
yeah.
And, and on top of everything else the community is dealing with, I don't know that, I want us to be reasonable.
Oh, absolutely. I say 5, 10, I'm
Mhm.
throwing number out. Like,
Yeah.
not-
3 to 5 would be more kind of a
Yes.
cost, the typical
It should
cost of
be,
living,
yeah. And so, which way is the right way? Again, I know everybody, again, we're not trying to mess with the community,
Mhm.
business owners, we want to make sure, that we can fulfill the needs of the job and as best as we can, especially.
Sure. Alexis, on the 20% across the board, I know some of these were more unaligned than others as it relates to the cost to perform. On some of those key items that were kind of the most variance before, does the 20% in your view kind of right size some of the major ones, the more major ones?
Um, in my opinion, I thought 20% was a bit high for a 1 year increase. I think that the percentage was across the board, didn't necessarily fix, the labor costs. I didn't think it was based on the labor costs. The original fees, at least the ones that were mentioned, like the geothermal wells, I did not have those ones changing.
Okay.
Another comment is to 2 years ago, when the state stopped setting our rates, we first had to just get rates established. Because we didn't have with the county commission, and then a couple months later, we increased them. We had a very short time frame for the first, we had to get it in there because the legislation happened. At that point, when we put in the rates that were effective, I think mid-July of 2 years ago. So most of the permits didn't get charged that time, but it was a 20% across the board increase at that point. So that was really just 2 years ago that came into effect. So that would be another thing to say, that 20% on top of 2 years ago having a 20% increase. But that doesn't address what the needs are for paying our salaries, but that's whatever it is. I don't. That's what Alexis was looking at.
And what she refers to is that initial one last month, where we didn't have a whole lot that changed. That then we had discussed changing all of them across the board instead of onesies and twosies, so to speak. Lack of a better term there, sorry.
Very technical.
Yeah, very, very. So.
I feel like my understanding of it would have been like developing, like using that as like a template and then adding for the ones that we didn't change, a cost of just a basic cost of living, like we talked about, like closer to that 5% inflation year over year mark. Which I suppose if we're talking a 2-year time period could potentially be 10% over a 2 period and then reduce down to 5%, for the ones that weren't adjusted by the original labor calculation increase.
Well, that's it. So did you guys run the actual labor costs? Like, so, Alexis knows the hours that are spent.
Yes,
And then, so did you guys do that? And-
yes, in the original one that we had submitted,
Okay.
that was based off of actual labor hours.
Okay,
I basically provided like a time estimate for each
Yes.
service, and then
right.
have Brandon calculate like the averages of the labor for our
Yeah.
crowd.
And is that option A here? There's no changes on
No,
this one?
that was from last month. Option, and then when came back from the meeting or the discussion in the meeting, it was, not picking and choosing for everything, with my understanding of from that meeting. So creating option A and option B of changing everything that we could legally change.
But is option A the same as what I presented last month, or
Right,
is-
that's the same as there's an option C in there where some items
Yes.
get recalibrated to align with the cost. And then for everything else, there's a global increase.
So option C would be that, like, the overall, some of the ones that we had changed in the first last month are the ones in option A.
Mhm.
Though that physical amount that change, where it's not a set percentage increase, right? Now, but then adding the increases to everything is what became option A. So we can go back and look at option, what we had in there was which one we actually had physically changed previously, based off of calculations.
Yeah, and also I believe in the state budget, assuming it stays as is, there was another 3% increase for state employees. in
Yes.
that.
So that is the other
So
factor. that
that's
we have
another
to
thing
think.
we have to, I believe we have to absorb, right?
Yes,
That only if they say it also includes the health departments.
Have you have you looked
I
into
have
that?
not seen that, so it has. In the past, it's had to specifically say including health departments, because we're not state.
still, I think
And we'll have to figure out, there's from asking. Others about that, so.
No, Anne hopped off, looks like.
No, she's on her phone.
Oh, she changed. Oh, okay, I see there.
her than I.
I was in her iPad still, okay.
News for.
Anne, do you have any thoughts?
Once.
At some point, we're gonna have to address the cost of providing these services and, is this the time to do it? Or do we keep kicking this can down the road? Because we've had this discussion several years, from back when we first had to establish these fees after the state stopped mandating that. And, I realize, in having been a former business owner, that it is a tough nut to crack to raise these fees. And maybe we choose to raise them over a 2-year period to get them up to basically what it costs us to do this. But at some point, we're going to have to address this as a required revenue stream.
Great.
Unfortunately, it's one of the few things that is mandated by the state that we must do. Right?
Yeah.
The sanitary department is,
What do
regardless
you
of
mean
any,
must do?
like, the health.
Must serve. Yeah, no,
Yes,
we fully
Yeah,
understand that.
that's what I'm saying.
I think what we're maybe struggling with here is the case, like, we understand the numbers case.
Yeah.
On the revenue side.
Yeah.
I don't personally I don't understand, I don't think I've seen the cost side, so. And then, now we've got sort of, if you will, maybe three versions of proposed fees, different reasonings for it,
Mhm.
all legitimate reasonings, but also what is practicable. And again, I keep,
Oh, what's
so
that county?
I guess the question I have and what I'd like to see, and if we have to do a special meeting on this, perfectly fine with that, but also understanding so for each of these things that where we have proposed increases, okay, but it'd be great to know what are the hours for the sanitarians, or what is our hourly rate for a sanitarian that then justifies this cost? So that's for me, is I'm still a little blind on the front end.
Absolutely, and that we can get that set up, that's no problem. Right, I wanna make sure that, one, we're very forthcoming with what we're doing, right? And we're talking about all this, right? Because this isn't a gotcha thing, right? And I don't want people to think that we're just doing it for the sake of doing it. I want people to understand, because anybody can come back and watch these videos, that what we're doing is actually trying to meet the demand of what our staff.
Oh, 100%,
does.
but
And so,
even.
and to provide that information, I would,
Here's an example, bed and breakfast permits, and I know a couple of years ago, we went through the practice of, I think Gino and maybe Gillian at the time went through, looking for bed and breakfasts online, so Airbnb, sorry, not bed and breakfast, Airbnb, short-term rentals, and compared that to who had actually permits from us on short-term rentals. And there were a lot of people that did not have the permits. And so increasing the fees, if you're the Airbnb or Verbo or whatever, well, I'm gonna take my chance and
Yeah.
not submit for permits. Come and catch me,
Absolutely.
compliance only. Well, but is that your best use of time, right? So let's go back to your hourly rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it worth your time to chase a $75 or $100 permit fee of somebody who can evade you for a while, and you can put about 5 hours, 10 hours into it to get $100?
Yeah.
Versus, getting out to the developments, getting out, making sure your restaurant stuff is done, all of that kind of stuff. So you start to have a bit of a law of diminishing return here as well.
That's very true.
Well,
And-
remember too, that we're gonna have to justify these rate increases to the county commission to get approval. So maybe we need to have a special meeting and address what these things cost before we make a decision about how much to increase them.
I personally, just to throw this out there, my background is pure public health and environmental health. So I know very, very little about finance. I would feel more comfortable if we had Cox Holiday helping us, or an accountant of some sort helping us, to really pull the data on. I mean, I did, the best I could with our labor estimates based on how much time I imagine that each service costs. But really actually getting some calculations out, and that person that does those calculations, I don't think should be me, in my opinion. Just throwing that out there, Brandon.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's what Cox Holiday's here for.
Yeah, I think that, you getting the average time for each of these, I think is what we base it on, and you know that probably better than anyone.
Right.
Converting the time to the cost for sure. Yeah, that's
that
would be better for Cox Holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we can see it, we can use them to, again, see that. I get lack of a better term, financial differentiation between
Mhm,
what we have now versus what the change would be,
mhm.
right?
I think to do that, you're gonna need to get the total number of times each of these were
Yes.
performed.
Absolutely.
And I'd say let's use 2025 as the baseline
Yes.
mirror.
Yeah.
And it would be good just to have, have it also presented this way with each.
And
all of the data across the board versus separately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. I would
Because
say
if
the
we
Excel
can get the
spreadsheet
total-
was a little bit better.
I'm sure Troy did.
Yeah, if we can get the total of times each one occurred, the average hours per service, the cost per service, which would be the financial Cox holiday. If they're able to get the revenue generated from that, we'd be able to show a variance
Correct.
for each item, so we can see where our big misses are. And Alexis, you probably know that intuitively from the work that you've done already, but we'd be able to see it on the spreadsheet. We did 100 of these, we lost $50 per unit on
Yeah.
those. And then, right, I think that should be the baseline. And then,
Yeah,
once we have that, proposal A, B, or C.
gotcha.
It sounds like proposal A is increasing, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Proposal A is increasing just the ones that have the variance. Maybe proposal B is a 20% across the board. And a proposal C is recalibrating certain ones and doing a percentage increase on the rest. And
I think so. That's
are we
what I'm.
talking, that's what you were thinking
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
That, I would ask very quickly how long it would take Cox Holiday to do that. That's not an easy analysis.
Yeah.
Right.
But they probably have the tools to
Yeah.
get it done.
Unfortunately, Amber's not on,
Yeah.
but I will find out.
Okay.
And that's something like probably reach out to them today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that
No,
like if we do have to do a special meeting in 2 weeks or whatever the case is. Cause again, we're gonna be doing our budgets, which have to be approved by usually by May, we try to get it done by May's
Correct.
regular meeting. And a couple times we've had to do a special meeting.
Yeah.
Cause then we have to get it into the state for their approval before their June 30th deadline. So if we have to, we have to. Right.
Absolutely.
And we also want to get it done before the May invoicing, if at all possible too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, right now, if we were to approve them today, we would be April 13th, would
Yeah.
be past the 30-day.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks
And then we
and
have-
4 days, like, if they, yeah, we would need.
And we
it to
still
be-
have county commission to go through.
Right, and we'll have to get, Jack to
Yeah.
work some magic for us.
Do that rooter that he do. Get us in there.
Right, but
Yeah.
let's help ourselves
No, absolutely.
by getting on this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
As soon
and I
as-
think showing the cost in the document that we use to approve
Yeah.
is
Is important.
yeah,
No, absolutely. Sounds good.
all
I'll
right,
have it, I'll get it done.
all right. All right, that's the septic, that's the environmental health fees,
Yeah.
excuse me. Let's move into the public statements policy. We opened this up last month.
Yes.
I think we were looking to consider proposed language.
Is that on me?
Yes.
I think it was.
Postpone.
What was that?
Push postpone.
Yeah, I completely
Same.
blanked on it. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Just a little preoccupied with the sanitary legislation in my free time.
Just a little.
So
Plus that job thing I got.
Oh, no, there's that. There's, everybody has that one, I guess.
on to next month.
That's
Yeah.
all right with you.
I think it's better to have a draft.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
All right, so that will move to the following month. Anything I can do to help with that, let me know. And I,
Yeah,
Sure,
I'm putting it
yeah.
on, you've seen me put it on my to-do list, so.
Right.
See, it wasn't written down, so.
all right, well, moving on to new business state audit update.
Yeah, so our state audit got pushed to the April 30th. So they're gonna come in, do what they did last year, you know, and again, one of the big changes, I think this year is changed up a few of the areas.
Can you just
On-
clarify real fast? Is this our financial state audit or is this the evaluation from the center?
Evaluation, my apologies, not an audit, evaluation. I
Okay.
used the wrong terminology, so sorry, evaluation. What they did last year where they come through, checks to make sure we're doing what we're doing, finding efficiencies. I think they added in a few different areas, to change some of the wording on some of them. And again, they are now tying in our state funding to how well our evaluation performs. That's always that's the biggest change with that evaluation. We're gonna have some deficiencies. Not gonna lie to anybody. Obviously, we haven't hit all of our markers for certain things. That's just gonna happen. We're not the only county in this. I go to the LHA meeting every month. Everybody says the same thing. We haven't hit certain markers in certain areas, so.
This is the second time they've done it in many, many years, right?
Yep.
Or this is a new thing for the state.
Yeah. So, and they didn't even announce that they were tying state funding out until, not too long ago. Right?
Well, and look, and that's completely fair.
Yeah.
I think though, this would be a great thing for LHA to actually spend their time on, versus what they were trying to do, because if you even look at what we did with sanitarians
Yeah.
legislation, it's like, because I think if I remember correctly, last year's audit was that we were short on restaurant inspections because we don't have the staffing.
Right.
So we try to solve a staffing problem for ourselves.
Yeah.
And yet LHA was messing around with a solution to the problem.
Correct.
And so, to be fair, and I'm gonna speak frankly, so here with LHA, it's sort of like, okay, and whether they are involved or we just take it on ourselves, is like, I think we should look at the state audit reports or the performance audit reports and say, okay, so where are we deficient? Because if that's where our state money is gonna come from and it's and we need the revenue, then that's where our priority should be based if we're looking at our forward planning.
And we have management meetings that we've been looking at those and trying to make sure, of course, limited scope on certain
Sure.
areas of what we can and can't do.
But here's the second part of that. I didn't fully complete my thought is, we've got regulations we have to meet.
Right.
Our companies, our homeowners, our builders, all have regulations they have to meet. But if the state expects us to expects those regulations to be complied with, then, I think there's a case to be made saying, okay, well, in order for this compliance to happen, the state has to create pathways for us to be able to do it. So there's two ways to do that. Either financially, you help us do it, or maybe you get rid of some of the regulations, but you have to have both sides of the coin. As somebody who works in a highly regulated industry, there's two sides to the coin.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's going to be an important piece of all of this. And of A, prioritizing ourselves, but B, what we take back to LHA of saying these should be your priorities. And, we may not all 100% agree, but the reality is that we're out of sync with what they're supposed to be doing and solving problems for us to be able to meet our obligations and so forth.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, no, I don't know if I can follow up that.
Sorry, I've been neck deep in this stuff and
How do you follow up that?
sorry.
Okay.
And I mean it all in the best of circumstances, it's meant to be productive.
I mean, I can tell you that the evaluation tool that they provided to us is very heavy on the environmental side specifically.
Absolutely.
And my specific issue that I have with it is last year they said they were going through it as a trial run. That funding would not be affected last year. Obviously, deficiencies were found that we knew that we were going to have. It was our inspections amount not being met per the state mandate due to staffing, like we have already talked about. But this year they gave us a new updated evaluation tool that includes almost 7 or 8 newly added categories. And now they're saying this year your evaluation is going to be tied to your funding, but this is the very first time that I'm seeing these categories. They're not, being helpful in how we accomplish this. And so it's just been very frustrating from my side to to try to, because we as a board, as our board, developed a improvement plan, if you recall last year, to you know, work on these deficiencies. And in my opinion, what was the point when now we're adding all these new, you know, we spent the last year working to address A, B, and C, and now a year later you're saying, oh, we're going to add the rest of the alphabet, and you know, there's no plan in place for those. So if I am being very transparent, am anticipating there to be more deficiencies on this year's report than last year, because of the amount of things that they're looking at this year that they did not look at last year. So I just want to be transparent and let you guys know to prepare for when we get that result back. And just going back, Brandon, you said the date had moved to what?
April 30th.
To April 30th. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to put that on my calendar.
Okay.
So I don't know how the state's gonna, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Yeah, like in the healthcare space with the Joint Commission.
Yeah.
And then when the state comes in to audit healthcare, there is some discretion that the surveyors can deploy based on showing your work and what you've done. And like if there's a deficiency that they find, but they see that you have a corrective action in place and that you worked that plan, some, that isn't a bullet, but like if you think about your sightings last time, like I would, between now and April 30th, dust off all of your corrective action plans. Make sure you have all the documentation in place to support all the work that you did over the past year. And perhaps if they have the findings, like, yes, we know we've done a lot of work since you were here. Here's all of our, that counts. That counts for a lot in some instances. So just make sure you have that ready. And if you know there's something, it's a little bit late, but if you know there's something that you think that's your biggest risk, whether it's the rest of the alphabet or some of the that are the new things, or it's the things you've already found, like put a corrective action in place now, met in March, identified this issue, here's what we're working on, so you have an open plan.
Okay.
That can help. And I'll just say one more thing, and I don't know how the state operates, but if they did this preliminary round and they found that 95% of all counties got cited, and they run a second year and they find that 95% of counties still got cited, perhaps once they see the cumulative, because Joint Commission looks at that, I'm just comparing it to my regulatory survey experience. They are able to look across the population and what is our highest cited percentages. And if 90% of counties are cited on the same 5 things, there's probably something structurally wrong and not a county's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And hopefully they'll take that into account before any funding changes are made. But, you know,
Yeah.
just wanted to get that out there.
And I think going back to when we've talked about sort of the prioritization of services as we look to the next budget cycle and sort of essentially the business plan, I think if anything, this is now going to be an instructive tool to decide as we think about the FY 27 budget, what do we align to, and what, you know, and this is an opportunity to take that hard look for a very, very good reason. But I think there's also 2 other pieces. Number one, this is what the the Health Boards Association should be doing. So even if the state's not doing that analysis of 95% failed for largely the same reasons, like that should be their job, is to help advocate or help realign that. The other part of it is, you know, there's also funding differences. Like Huntington has a levy for their Board of Health. They have a different revenue stream versus us, which is all fee-based and grant-based. So, you know, if Huntington wins all the time, or, you know, not wins is perfect all the time, well, that's because they have, you know, they have the resources
to appropriately fund
And then third is that as an outcome of the legislative work that we've done, is that there is an interest within the legislature to have a working group during interims. Not only on the sanitarian stuff that we've worked on, but sort of, I think we can open it more broadly. And I think we should take advantage of that to help align, again, what is the state regulatory structures to versus what we can actually accomplish at the local, because it goes back to that, both sides of the coin. The state demands that regulations be met, but if businesses can't meet it or local health departments can't oversee it appropriately, then what are we doing? And so people are getting punished for something that's arbitrary. So, I think there's an opportunity there for some actual reform. And I know people are running into the dark when they hear reform. Reform doesn't have to be drastic. It just has to be realigned.
And I think the reform of the education is largely this health department, because you said, well, what can we do about not having enough? Say, well, some of it we can't do it without the laws changing, and
Right,
they have. And
right. Well,
it's gonna
not yet.
take-
It still has to be encouraged.
But it's gonna take time for that
50%.
to influence our, to
Right,
do it and to keep up, but it is one step. There are thousands of other steps.
correct. But
They need to be looked at.
we're gonna be more successful coming up with our own solution or a recommended solution versus leaving it, just complaining about it. It's saying, okay, here's the data, here's the facts, here's what has to be, here's what we see. And we only have our lens. It's not our job to take care of the rest of the state.
Right.
But I think our lens is pretty instructive, and, it'll either be helpful to other agencies like ours, or maybe no effect to others where, that may be smaller or, whatnot. So, but again, that should be the function of the LHA.
The deficiencies we find as we talk, we find out other places are having the same. And in the surveys, the not getting the environmental inspections done on time affected most of the health departments. It was the number one thing. So, and many people, including Office of Local Health in the state, recognized this is a major issue. One of the problems we don't have is, how are they rating? Meaning, if there are 70 items and you are deficient, it's a pass fail. If you're deficient on 2, like last year, does that give you 95%, or what's passing? Do you only get 95% of the allotted amount? You only get 95%, or do you only get penalized 5% if you're at 70% or lower? Well, if you're at 70% or lower, do you need a budget increase?
So that's,
you're
so that isn't clear how they're
no,
gonna,
it's unclear completely. That causes a lot of anxiety. So, we know almost every one of those things. We have deficiencies. We know we're not doing everything perfectly. Just like any business, you say, gosh, I could have done this better. And most of the stuff I think we did very well on. But they will find areas if they randomly pull something and say, why isn't this done to perfection? The departments are working on it, but it would be good to have legislature looking at stuff, because we see at the local level what needs to change, and these things have been there for 30 years. There have been a few technologies like computers.
Well, it seems that
Large
this
medical
was
corporations.
legislatively motivated. There was a bill that was amended to add the funding aspect to these audits. It used to be that it was always required anyway. They didn't have the manpower to do it. Center for Local Health took over a few years ago and decided they were going to restart it. And then, based on what they were finding in their organization, in combination with LHA, decided to go through legislature to tie the state aid distribution to the results of this survey, which went through this year's legislature. I honestly don't have an update on what the status is on if it passed or if it's completed. But when I looked it up last, it said it was pending. So
Do you know what bill it is?
not off the top of my head. But I can get that.
It was in this year's legislative session?
Yes, last year they came up with the idea. which is why we did like a preliminary. And then this year they actually went through to get the code changed to reflect the state aid funding to tie it to these.
Okay, so this isn't a foregone conclusion that there'll be state aid reductions if that bill passes, but it sounds like that's still in process.
We have been told to like
Assume it's gonna happen.
yeah, that we've already been instructed
Okay.
that they
Can you
will.
can you shoot me the bill, Alexis, when you find it? Just because, again, let me take a look I'd like to look at it. I'd like to see where it is in the process. Session ends tomorrow at midnight. And the reality is like, it's a little interesting that they're doing it retroactively, because usually bills become July 1st and forward, so I just want to make sure we're understanding that correctly. But again, LHA, whose bright idea was that to now tie state aid to something that people weren't even aware of would be the case? Like, what are we doing?
Do they just discuss that at the administrator meeting at all?
No.
Or no?
What came out was Debbie Hisson from the Center of Local Health came out and said, it came at the Local Health Association meetings, one of the meetings months ago, and she was like, your state aid is going to be tied to this. That's flat out how it came out.
Could this bill have been simply the legislature approving last summer's change in this Code of State Rules, the CSR, that was updated to reflect changes from last legislature?
It could be. I don't have all the information, but I'll get it to you.
Yeah.
When they came here last year, did they provide a preliminary report at the time of the survey? And if not, how long did it take for you to get the preliminary report? I'm just thinking from a budget timeframe.
They told us, and they gave us the what our deficiencies were within a week or 10 days.
Okay.
And then we had
It was a quick turnaround, yeah.
to respond. But last year was not tied to any finance.
Yeah, we've got.
What we knew last year, that this year would be.
But this year they're doing it at the end of April, which does make it difficult if they are planning on withholding fiscal year 27 state aid. That's just a difficult time frame. So I mean, we'll see how it goes.
But I think based on I think we can still prioritize based on at least the categories that they've put forward. So maybe it helps us design our business priorities for the next fiscal year. So yeah, the numbers may be funky and whatever, but at least it helps us prioritize our business for the next year.
Yeah.
We didn't know what our state aid was until partway into this fiscal year anyway.
Got it. I started a year ago. I got it in April. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on, that was a lot. The state evaluation. Good luck. I guess we'll see you before they come. But I would really
I think that's really
get all your ducks in a row for when they,
Absolutely.
all of it in a binder, show them all the work that you're doing to meet
Yeah.
these standards.
Definitely.
That's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, fiscal year 25.
So our actual audit, which everybody here has in the little hard copy, was in the packet. Much like the year before, we have no deficiencies. Or they found no, issues with our stuff. The findings. But here's the packet. I don't know if I want to go over it all. It's a little thick.
Okay, knowing there's no deficiency.
They have no findings. So we were doing something right in fiscal year 25.
Except for that negative symbol in front of our numbers, but.
It's maybe something that the board usually accepts the report, since it's a report to the board.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 audit, financial audit?
I'll motion. Oh, did Laura?
No, no, okay, I'll second it.
All right, any additional comments or any comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You got an aye from Ann. Thank you, Ann.
And Dan is now
Hi,
present.
Dan.
Oh, hey, Dan, welcome. Good to see you.
I'm sure he comes
Sorry for
after
being
all.
late.
Dan's spidey sense was tingling after financials
Yeah.
and everything. He was like, oh, okay, I'm on.
All right, moving on, the health officer succession planning discussion. Just wanted to open up some time to continue that discussion after Dr. Reedy's announcement last meeting.
I wasn't sure how the conversation was wanted to go. I did find online through DOP class and comp. The nurse, so in the state of West Virginia, a health officer can be an advanced nurse, a nurse practitioner, or a medical physician. For the sake of this conversation, I found a physician director, which is what they use as a health officer for a medical position, and also a nurse practitioner classification for this conversation. I did speak with Cal Colangelo, and he said, yeah, I just want to make sure, like, you know, physician nurse practitioner, that I know that there's no health officer, like, classification, like, if we go one way or the other. He's like, that's not a problem. I'm like, okay, just because of you know, the nature of the work aspect of the nurse practitioner comparatively to the physician under the classic description. So
This is also full-time, right?
that would be
These are
full-time.
full-time.
And so Dr. Reedy actually made the percentage FTE here based off of average salaries in the region. You know, there's a couple ways that we could do this from my understanding and talking with a few other administrators. We can get them at a part-time FTE, much like Dr. Reedy has out there, either an ND, a nurse practitioner, preferably a family nurse practitioner. So they could, you know, see patients while they're here, and continue on some of the awesome things that Dr. Reedy has created, like the Hep C program, if they're interested in it, things of that nature. That would limit their time. It would also kind of limit maybe the benefits that are provided because they would still work somewhere else possibly.
Well, that was the question. So if they're already in private practice, they can still maintain that if they
Correct.
wanted to serve part-time in this role. Okay.
Right.
In either category, the nurse practitioner or the MD.
Correct. And Dr. Reedy brought up the point of much like Eastridge is doing with Lindsay, kind of contractual out to us, we pay them. And so W Medicine provides us with a position for X amount of hours a week. We pay WV Medicine for their time. They would still take their benefits. That way there's on one, you know, tax issue.
Right.
You know, when it comes to tax season.
So if somebody's with WVU, they can, or like WVU medicine, they can serve in this role as well.
If we we can try.
If we wanted to do a contract, so that is an option. We can do
Yeah.
a contractual
Yeah.
deal.
So when I first went to work for Berkeley Health Department, it was easier. I was a WVU employee. It was easier for me to just deal with one agency collecting taxes and, you know, benefits and all that. So I remained a WVU employee, and so I think I was giving 30% of my time to the health department. And so WVU says this is what you get at 100%. If you're working 70%, I'll give you 70%. And then whatever the health department pays us for your other 30% will be added to your salary. So I was simply rented out to them. And there's a very involved contract with that. that worked, and fine. Of the 56 or 7, whatever health departments, only about 3 have a full-time, physician or health officer. Most of them have a health officer who works a few hours a week or a few hours a month. Prior to my coming here, I think Dr. Didden, and may know better, Dr. Didden had decreased his hours to about 5 hours a month. So not very involved in day-to-day stuff. There's a lot of value of having a practitioner available to provide services, maybe even more valuable once our location is near the population center. But finding someone with the interest in doing that is difficult. I did speak with one of the physicians at WVU who unfortunately is moving away, but she suggested someone else you need to talk to about this. Just that they're the largest employer in the area. Valley Health, anybody's fine for it, but that's one of our contacts.
And do they need to be licensed in West Virginia?
Excuse me, yes.
Do they have to have a West Virginia license or can you be?
Yes,
Virginia?
that's pretty easy to do.
So if they're a Virginian but we wanted to protect, just using, for example, a Marylander,
Yep.
they can just get a reciprocal license.
They can get it and, the health department can, pay their $200 fee to get it.
Right.
So it's fairly easy to
To
get
get
that, just have to
licensed.
go through the paperwork.
So you're saying it's easier to get a reciprocal medical license from
That's
another
it.
state than a
Because
sanitary?
we have a national standard for it. Sorry.
I just had to point it out. Just saying. Okay, so is the next step on this to,
I think we need to open up for applications.
yeah,
So
we have to decide what we want, right? Like if it's a contract role versus in-house versus full-time versus part-time versus,
budgetarily,
yeah,
contractual, part-time.
okay.
That's where my mind went, and not just budgetarily, but just also cleanness and lack of complexity. Like we're contracting out some expertise.
Yeah.
And
whether that be a physician or a nurse practitioner, I think we can leave that open for both. And kind of leave that broad spectrum out there and you never know what you get on Indeed or wherever else, but I think that the route to go in that avenue, just like I said, I look at the budgetary aspect of it, right? So,
Also accessibility, because like I know I've had a few folks reach out to me about it, and, weren't sure about like, can they keep their private practice or can they still work at WVU? Can they still do, so an idea, I was like, I have no idea. I think so, but, we don't know for sure. So I think that actually opens us up to, I think, a lot more candidates, because no one's gonna leave private practice to take our salary level.
if it's straight contractual, it's however many hours they work. and
Yeah.
Put a pay hour on it.
and we can put some caps there too.
Yes,
No more than, yeah.
X amount of hours, but
Yeah, if we post it though, we might get somebody that wants to let this, they're done with their private practice and then perhaps it is an employee. And so I think, I guess we could always build a private contract. Like it seems like with West Virginia University or Valley, they'll have all the mechanisms and contracts in place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's somebody that sees the Indeed ad, that's maybe old, they're done with the private practice, they want to work 20 hours a month or whatever. Like we either need to build a contract from scratch for them and their work or hire them on as an employee. So I don't think we should rule out employee. Sounds like we want to lean towards a contract with a system. That's what I'm hearing and thinking through.
There's a lot, you know, so there are some, right, let's say there's a psychiatrist, for example, who would want to work here. Well, they need to be comfortable, working with the nurses on overseeing management of sexually transmitted disease and vaccinations for different age groups and things like that. If they say, oh, no, I'm not covering that, so that's part of the requirement. Because those are things that we have to do. So just, you know, or if they have no interest in public health, and this is just another, it could change small amounts of time. So there, and we've met different practitioners, some of whom we say, you know, your comments, but they're not gonna work here.
Are these set in stone by the state, or these were just examples?
Those
and we can
those are
modify it?
examples,
Yeah.
and that actually covers someone that's running a state mental hospital. So those are just
These are-
positions, so they're,
This is based on blanket,
Got it.
you know. And I do think when we do put out for it, how it would do, as Dr. Reed said, like, your varying degrees of a physician, right? Like marrying it down to things like family medicine, mercy, or emergency medicine, something like that, not necessarily kind of a blanket position, blanket aspect, because they are gonna have to deal with STI, TB. Those are things we have to see,
Well,
right?
yeah, I think that we put that into the job description, so that we're not wasting people's time, not theirs, not ours, but, you know, and I think that also, I think one of the questions in the last meeting was, what are we required to provide in clinical services versus what is optional? And I think that brings it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And hopefully we can get. The other aspect is once what time frame do we want to do this by? Because we'll have to open it up, how long we want to open it up. The meeting, selecting candidates, how do we want to go about that as well, once we get them in, or the pool of candidates in, selecting them, and then also the interview process. We feel we want that to go, like, I don't think that would be an open meeting,
No,
interview, anything like that, but it would have to be a call for like, to make sure everybody has time to meet. But assuming everybody would meet. To meet. Just the physician.
Yeah, I kind of go to like, Anne, I think you were here when we did this last. Is there any kind of precedent or process that worked through that?
Can you unmute man, please?
yeah, I think she's trying to figure out how to mute.
It's still on mute, but it looks like she's working on it.
I mean, you have the power to set a subgroup,
That's what I was thinking too.
You know.
Subgroup.
or at least
What-
two
what
people,
happened?
you can't have quorum, you can't have,
Okay,
I think I'm back on.
you are.
yeah, we hear you.
This was a very difficult process before, and the process was made more difficult by the fact that we needed to keep that license in effect while we were searching. And we had very few applicants before when this was going on. And if Dr. Reedy probably remembers, John Breslin and I came to visit him in Martinsburg and interviewed him. But it was there were not multiple people that were interested in this job before, so that might be different this time around. But let's hope for the best.
I think it seems like we've got a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
In how we can approach it. So,
Right, and what's changed since then is nurse practitioners being allowed to be in that role. Gives the option that a nurse practitioner could also be the director of nursing. So that's opens up a lot of for a lot of health departments. It gives them someone with the authority who's on site all the time. So it'll be interesting to see, because a lot of these health departments have 3 employees. It's for employees because they're so small.
Are we wanting to put this out via Indeed?
Well, I think we need to develop the thing first, the job description. I think there's a number of us probably on this board that also have also people within the medical field. Like I said, I know people have already contacted me about it, so. Get it out. I think we need to approve it and then get it out. And you operationally can decide how you wanna book a search for it. So,
So the next step would be creating the job description. So I can create that and get it out to everybody. Get it.
That sounds like a good next step. And as far as like, even for the next step, like, I don't think we need to be. Well, for me, my thoughts are like, obviously, we're not thinking full-time,
Yeah.
thinking part-time,
Yeah.
but not being so prescriptive in the job description that
Right.
it rules, because I think we have some flexibility depending on what shows up. Whether it's 20%, 10%, or 40% of an FTE. And, we don't want people not to apply that could otherwise be qualified because we put a percent FTE on it.
Yeah.
So part-time, hours to be discussed during interview process.
So the paper I've given out to those here is, the top columns are, are just what comes off of AI Google of, salaries for family nurse practitioners and family practice physicians in the Ranson area, and looking at Frederick and Hagerstown, those similar, the lower table with just the two numbers is, what I've gotten from talking with some, new, family practitioners and nurse practitioners of what their salary expectations are. These are salaries, not other benefits, but that keeps it simpler.
So we've already talked to West Virginia University about this, the ability to contract in a health officer.
Well, I don't, so the executives who were there, I was there, but they certainly have that ability, but whether they're interested this year, I don't know.
So I think that's another avenue to explore, other than the job description and the
Yeah.
Indeed or whatever
Yeah,
you decide for the search. The discussions with Valley and West Virginia University on the contract arrangement and seeing what that source is, right? Two separate channels. We need probably a job description, obviously, for both discussions, but I think pursuing both those equally.
Yeah, this won't be a revenue stream, but whether it's something that they say, gee, you really should be involved in helping out this, if either of the corporations, certainly has an interest.
Yeah, I think
It,
could be some interest, and the mechanics are there. They would have a contract and X amount of hours, sign this,
Yeah.
All right. All right, so job description, we'll look at that next month.
I can send it out to you all as soon as.
we just can't discuss it.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you can please send it out.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we can individually
Send
you back edits or
Yeah.
suggestions, but we can't as a group discuss over email. And then just be ready to, I guess, approve it.
Yeah, okay. Can do.
All right. All right, in the
Or if you
meantime,
need
oh, sorry.
to do a special meeting, you can always hop on, if we want to expedite it too. If we wanted to
All right,
do it virtually.
I think depending on how quick you get a draft, and if everybody could provide individual feedback to Brandon. If we can get a draft two soon enough, then maybe we can talk about a special session, 5 minutes to review and approve so that we don't hold up the process a month.
Sounds good.
All right,
Good.
okay. All right, thank you. Excuse me. All right, on to the agency activities, report.
Did they get a copy of the activity report? I don't see it in the
Yeah.
packet. Okay.
You have it.
So I made two different packets. I apologize. I may have accidentally took out the activity report on the big packet with this one. I apologize when taking things in and out.
It looks like Brandon's doing the
It
environmental.
looks like I'm
health.
doing, I apologize, everybody. It was a wild day yesterday. Environmental side of the house, food inspections, they had a total of 66 inspections in the month of February, which was up from 13 in January, 12-month average is 46. Their complaint compliance, they had 4 in February, which is down from January at 7. Their 12-month average is 4, no closures, which is a very great 12-month average of still 0. Food handler cars, they did 103, which was just slightly down from 109 in January. 12-month average is 96. General sanitary inspection total 16 in February. They did 8 January. And then 12-month average is 12. They didn't do any pool inspections in February. Gee, I wonder why. They did do one in January. They have 12-month averages 2. They had no complaints in February. They had 3 in January, average is 12. They had 19 information for requests for well and septics, 42 in the previous month, though, in January. Their site evals, 28 in February, up from 25 in January, with a 12-month average of 34. Permits issued, they did 14 permits in February, 23 in January, 12-month average to 28. Permit applications, they had 30 this past month, 32 in January. There's still a 12-month average, still 32. Septic finals, they did 8 in February, with 14 in January. Their average is 15. Permit denials, 3 last month, in February, 4 in January, with their average only being 2. Complaints for well septic, they had 5 last February. January, they had 3, their average is 2. No subdivision applications or lot evaluations last month. They had 4 applications in January, with an average of 3 and 19. 5 water evals, 6 septic evals, and 3 letters for home loan evaluations last in February, compared to 3 and 0 in January. On the clinical side of the house, do you want to add anything to that, Alexis? Go ahead, please. Sorry.
Thank you for presenting that. Those are our monthly numbers. In addition, we do have a sanitarian in training. So
Yes.
she is scheduled to have her food OJT completed the second week of April. And then hopefully she will be cleared that week to start doing food inspections for us, which is looking good. And then we, in addition to that, have a sanitarian 2 that will be leaving us in the month of April. So he's moving on to a position at Valley Health. So we will be opening up a position for a sanitarian in training, to be bringing somebody on. But between now did I say he's leaving in April? Sorry, he's leaving in March.
Next week.
My apologies. So between now and April, when we have Kristen up to date and certified to do food inspections, it will just be myself and another sanitarian doing food. And then I have my sanitarian 2, Alex. She will be doing all septic appointments. So if you see her, tell her I'm sorry. So she'll be very busy. But we have 3 functioning sanitarians until she is certified. So that means I'm going to be busy. The audit is coming up, or I guess the evaluation is coming up. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the field, trying to get as much done myself as I can.
Thank you, Alexis.
You're welcome.
So going on to clinical services, family planning, I saw 17 in the month of February, up 16 in January, breast and cervical, saw 0. They had one in January. STI, saw 18, encounters, up from 13, but their average is 20. They had 0 patients treated with medication, down from 5. Vaccines, total vaccines administered, we went down from 58 in January to 44. The 12-month average is 109. Childhood vaccines, they did 10 compared to 31 in January, with an average of 77. Flu vaccines, they did 4 February, 10 in January. COVID vaccines, they did 1, 7 in January. Other vaccines, they did 29, with 10 though, comparatively in January. TB, they had 11 skin tests, and 34 other, compared to 5 and 4. Animal bites, they did 32 bites, 0 positives. Good time. It's always great when you know positive animal bites. Compared to 18, 35, 12-month average. Another big thing for our clinical side of the house is our QRT program. They are with meeting with the new prosecuting attorney, and then also the new EMS director for Jefferson County, and we'll be meeting with the city of Ranson police chief, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. They are finally able to do QRT, is one of them approved. Now, we're not starting into that right away. They're not coming hot. What that means is, when an overdose happens and the EMS report is generated, they would actually receive the EMS report to go out to these individuals who have had an overdose and be able to provide them with resources, which is what they should be doing, right? Helping them get to treatment, things of that nature. Unfortunately, they have not been able to do that. But what they have been doing has been awesome. Like they do the job fair at the Eastern Regional Jail, where they get direct contact with the inmates, provide them with resources for when they get out, so they maintain their therapy and their treatment, so they're not repeating that cycle. They do a Narcan training at Job Corps just this past week. They did 42 students and 1 teacher in Narcan training. You know, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if you've seen some of these Narcan training classes, they're not that usually that big. They had a total of 26 referrals for 2026 so far. All of them have been accepted their referral and been provided resources to treat. Our QRT team has done an amazing job. And so now adding being able to receive the EMS reports to that, and still being able to still do all of these things. It's pretty awesome. Again, they also work with JCCM every year and do a point in time count. I don't know what the result is of that, but it's deals with the homelessness population, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Here in Jefferson County, I don't know the results of that. Unfortunately, didn't get those results, but every year they work with them, and they've been a really big help with that. And so we're really stoked with the QRT team and how well that they're unfortunately Katie this one to here presenting, but unfortunately things happen. So yeah, just want to give a big shout out to them.
It's great.
All right.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's it.
Yeah. I do have a few things I want to address. The vaccination numbers were slightly off. We did correct them, but I didn't realize the one that you printed out, you had printed out before we made the correction. And there's nothing much to report. It's just the numbers are a little bit slightly different. Total vaccines are actually only 29, which is lower than 44. And then other vaccines was only 1 in your report. It's a much, much higher number.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were informed of that. It doesn't change anything in the big picture, but I just wanted to let you know that those certain numbers were a bit different. Second,
we are trying to report TB numbers a little bit better. So where it says other, it was 34. It means total patient encounters. So we're trying to reflect how many patients we're seeing versus they were not counting people who are coming back in again. So it doesn't really represent how many patients the nurses were seeing. So that number is going to be slightly higher than what we were used to reporting. So I just want to make comment for that. And then I did want to say with this QRT thing that Brandon was discussing, a lot of effort into getting that connection goes to Dr. Reedy. He's been working on it for years, trying to get the county to cooperate with us, the EMS, and I'm really glad to see that after him years and years going and talking with individuals, we finally have that connection happening. And I just want to say that was not an easy feat. It has been years of effort trying to get EMS to cooperate with us. So I just wanted to point that out. And then third, I do want to highlight something about our vaccine. We did have a vaccine inspection. It's the regular yearly audit. Sorry, did somebody say something?
No.
Okay. We had the yearly audit and we passed in flying colors. Actually, the remarks were that our Jefferson County Health Department is doing a wonderful job. We are one of the best we have one of the best setups with immunization protocols and following everything. We are very organized, and they would like to refer other health departments if to us for continuing, if we could help them, if we could assist, if there was a closure because of vaccine issues, to help with transportation, because we have equipment, we have protocols, and that we've been doing a great job. It was just all over the board, 100%, clapping our hands. And because how well we did, there's no issues with getting more funding. We are approved for 61,000 and more for the next year grant. And I just want to say that. And Spring was the one who was reporting to the state when the inspection happened. So kudos to her. She did a really good job. So that's what I have to report today. Any questions?
That was the state vaccine for children agency, right? That did the inspection?
I believe so. It's Megan.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great news. That's good, positive feedback. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the nursing has worked very hard at that. We had an incident a little over a year ago where our monitoring system we were changing over and it went down. And so we had to get 3 vaccines. So we could have more than $60,000 worth of vaccine in those refrigerators, and they can go bad if they, are not at temperature. So we had to transfer them to another site and work on getting things restored. And our nurses became very expert on all the intricacies of how these probes work and everything. The state was very impressed.
It's excellent.
It's one of their little anxieties they keep all the time, because
The vaccine's going bad.
we do get alerts sometimes that the monitor's not working. So we have a real-time monitor of the temperature for the freezer and the refrigerator that we get through Wi-Fi. But then we also have a hardwired system that goes to a monitoring company that would send us an alert also. So so we've got a redundant system on that. But the health officer report, not a lot additional. Did go to the health fair at Edson Civic Center last weekend and met some people, including other agencies that we work with, and the reportable diseases. Lindsay and some of the other staff have been doing very good on keeping up with that. That's a constant thing. And the tuberculosis is another reportable disease that we may not see some of the people that Spring works with. We get names from the state of people that immigration has sent information that they need a test repeated or something, and it becomes quite a few people. And the and those people stay on our rolls until they're through treatment. We've not had any active tuberculosis, meaning it's actually infectious, but a number of people who have evidence of latent or quiet tuberculosis that could reinfect, and encourage them to get a course of treatment. The the issue about the quick response team, the original model is that when someone overdoses, the first responders, so police and EMS, then notify recovery specialists who will then see them quickly, meaning not quick like the first responders were, but within 24 to 72 hours to see if they can help them. And that's requires EMS to give us identifying information, how to reach the person. And a lot of federal codes are less than perfectly clear, and there are different interpretations about whether they are allowed as a healthcare agency to send that information to another provider. So our legal counsel didn't think it was. Finally, with some years more experience with this being done in the state and other states and different interpretations from other lawyers, our attorney does agree that that it is acceptable. And this came about the same time that the new chief for fire and EMS has just started this week, and he's on board with this. So hopefully in the next week or two, that'll start happening. So it's one other way, but while that wasn't possible, there's certainly a lot of other people in the community who haven't had a near fatal overdose who need services, and our QRT's done an excellent job in reaching out to them. The point in time count is a national survey that's done throughout the nation on one day in winter. The last 2 years, we've had to alter it by a day because of weather. But our peer recovery specialists have gotten to know a lot of the homeless and work with them on an ongoing basis, because many of them also have substance use disorders, not all, but so nothing else very exciting this month.
Plenty of excitement though.
Yes.
Well, I guess that goes on me to finish it up. I did talk about our third part grant being finally invoiced, QRT invoiced as well. We'll be doing our third part grant next month along with state aid, hopefully the audit. Do have some upcoming events. Next week, Thursday, we'll be doing a third part meeting in Kaiser for the region. Friday, myself, Alexis, it would be going, Dr. E, hopefully we'll be going to the county commission to meet and discuss financial funding support. Focus strictly on the sanitarians for that avenue, for 4 sanitarians, the funding with their pay and their fringe benefits. Do want to say something? I hit 1 year on the 17th. Thank God with that. No. This is not a clap for me. I do want to say this. It's been a whirlwind here, right? Like I could not have done it without Dr. Reedy, Alexis, Lindsay, Krista. I'm gonna tear up. Holy crap. Everybody here at the health department. It's actually been really awesome for me. The support of the board coming in. I know I give the staff grief sometimes. And I know I do, and I know you all give me grief sometimes.
Hmm.
I could not have, ever asked to work for a better group of people. So I just say thank you
Thank you.
Thank you.
You had,
and leadership.
you had brought up that, Cabell, gets all this levy money. They're able to hire 4 people to do what he has to do, at least 4.
I don't know you want for it, new doctor. So
Bless your wife.
I got a kid that's just like me, except he already here.
Oh, boy.
So
For all that you've done.
thank
Done a
you.
great job.
I really appreciate all the support with that. It's a lot, it's a new scenario, new situation. I know it was the best scenario coming in with, some of the crazy, like, and I came in, it's March, coming at budget time, and I'm like, the whole time. But I really appreciate support the guidance and so it means a lot.
It's been a very eventful year.
I tell you, sometimes it feels like it's like, oh crap, it's only a year, and then other times I'm like, oh, it's only a year. So
I mean, the switch over to tech advisors,
Yeah.
the MMS, and getting some specialists in here to assist with revenue cycle. I think you've done some pretty big lifts. So.
and I couldn't, and again, I couldn't do it without.
Yeah, team effort.
Right, talk with them, just help getting their support with everything. I mean, the sanitarians, as much as I don't see them, because they're busy. I see the support that they have and do. Whenever we need something, they provide that support if we can. Our clinic staff, again, big shout out to Lindsay and the clinic staff, right? Like getting that vaccine, the audit like that, like being the gold standard for the state, right? Which in some cases, but being the gold standard for the state. So I had to throw a jab in myself. Okay, let me have it. But being that gold standard, like I said, and all the work that they do. I mean, we have people going to school and still working hard. We have people, the families, and still working hard and coming in every day and making this place the best we can. And it means a lot. And it helps me out. So
Awesome.
don't be texting nobody that I'm already tearing up either. Well, that stays.
All right, well, that's the end of the agenda.
Recorded.
Wow. I forgot that's recorded.
You're gonna go viral.
Uh,
If I knew how to make you go viral, I would totally do it, but I don't know.
that would be the least worst thing that I've ever probably could ever be gone viral. So I'll take it.
So to kind of recap some takeaways, you're gonna focus on job
Yes.
description, send out draft 1 to
Yes.
everyone,
Correct.
or it'll provide feedback directly to you. You'll send out a draft 2. If timing permits, I'm just looking at the calendar. I'd like to maybe just have everybody see if they can get some availability, maybe just 30 minutes on the 27th, which is the 2 weeks from
Okay.
today. And then I think the next thing, and that's gonna be a heavy lift, but would love it if we could address the fee schedule at that same session, and maybe we can come together, spend 5 minutes on the job description and have a discussion on the rates using these variances. Tall order for Cox Holiday, but I think that they can pull it off. So just for the group here, can we get a quorum on the 27th for maybe a 30-minute discussion? Okay, fine, Laura, fine, Karen, I can make that happen.
Anne's waving her hand.
Dan, and it's got a thumbs up from Dan and.
Works for me.
Thank you, Dan. And you said Ann said yeah too?
Yeah,
All right.
She waved.
Okay.
So-
All right, so I mean, I think that meeting is contingent upon a job description and an analysis that will help us move the decision forward. But we don't want to be a hindrance to you in the process of billing.
Yeah,
out the annuals and then continuing your search.
I can
Thank you, board.
promise at least a version one of the job description by Tuesday, out to everybody. Again, I can't guarantee anything with Cox Holiday. I'll send them out a message today asking for 2025's breakdown of how many we've done in environmental abuse per piece and
Yeah.
the amounts. I can't guarantee their reactionary time on that.
I would ask them, what are they able to do?
Okay,
To assist us in our decision-making process,
Understood.
if not that, and maybe after the meeting, when I bring the checks back, we can just draw out a quick Excel
Yeah.
sheet of what the proposal would
Absolutely.
be. That might help them.
perfect.
All right. Next meeting's scheduled, the next scheduled meeting is April 10th. With the potential to have a special meeting, special session, March 27th.
Good.
All right. And I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion. I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you all.
And you got 5 minutes to spare.
I know.
Again.